it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. You like my Evangelion t-shirt? It's got the sleeve and everything. I wish the eyes were up higher. I wish that these logos weren't here and that these eyes were a little higher, because I feel like the eyes should be up here, but whatever. And it's got on the back all kind of, control panel stuff. It's very cool. I got it from Box Lunch. I just haven't worn it because it hasn't been cool enough to wear a long-sleeved shirt. But now it's winter. So, anyway, to the topic at hand, I know that I talked last week about how I'd started a new game, but first I want to talk, before I talk about that, I want to talk about how I went back to a game. I decided that I wanted to play some Rock Band. So I dug out my guitar out of the closet and I put some batteries in it, turned on my Xbox One, and it didn't work. I was concerned because I hadn't turned on my Xbox One in months and months, so I was like, why is there no update? There should totally be a system update. But there wasn't, and that seemed weird to me. Then I noticed it wasn't connected to the internet, and I'm like, well, that's a problem. And I thought about playing Rock Band anyway, but then I was like, no, because I think it needs to connect to the internet so that it can authorize the use of my hundreds of DLC songs, which are what I really want to play. So let's just get this connected to the internet. It wouldn't connect to the internet. I was getting all frustrated, nothing was working, I was really annoyed. I was just like, ugh. I had to unplug it, plug it back in to reboot the whole console. Then it had a system update. Then it connected to the internet. It was like, hey, we've just got to update your system. And I said, that's what I figured, go right ahead and do it. That took a good long while, so I couldn't play as much Rock Band as I wanted to, but it was there and it was enjoyable. It's very slow for some reason, but it was still fun. I mean, going from screen to screen, menu to menu, loading the songs and whatever was a little laggy. And then a couple days later, I said, let me go play it again, because I left my guitar out. I pulled out the guitar, tried to use the button to turn on my Xbox, just kept blinking. I turned the Xbox on by hand, wouldn't sync. I even looked up online how to sync your Rock Band controller to your Xbox One. I tried it a few times, would never sync. I said, okay, I give up. Unplugged the Xbox, plugged it back in, rebooted the entire console, so there's no jumping right back into the game. I had to reboot the entire console, and then it started to work, sort of. Then it synced the controller, it synced the guitar controller, and then it just wouldn't, I pressed the button for Rock Band, nothing happened. Pressed it again, nothing happened. Pressed settings, nothing happened. Pressed Rock Band 4 again. Then settings opened. Close settings. I just getting Rock Band, the game, to actually launch and load took forever. It was so weird. And then I was able to play it again. I haven't gone back to play it again. I don't know if I'm going to have to completely reboot my console again, but probably, because the Xbox One just doesn't seem to want to function correctly. I don't know if that's when Apple puts out a new iPhone, all of a sudden everybody complains about how their iPhones are oh, this is really shitty and it's doing all these glitchy things and it doesn't work correctly. I'll just go buy the new one. Maybe this is Microsoft's way of being we're gonna update all the Xbox Ones so that they don't work real well and they're kind of annoying and they don't do things right, and then everybody will run out to buy the new Xbox. Except that's not going to make me want to buy a new Xbox. It's going to make me want to buy a PlayStation, because my PlayStation functions a little more smoothly than my Xbox does. So, and speaking of PlayStation, that is where I am playing my new game, which is actually an old game. Because I looked back through my library of games that I have either purchased or added to my library from PlayStation Plus, and I found Yakuza Kiwami, which I was like, okay, let me try this game. Because as you might remember from a previous episode, I had tried playing a Yakuza game on my PS3 because I had that in my PlayStation Plus library, but I didn't get very far, I didn't really get into it, and I don't play with my PlayStation 3 that often. It's, awkward, so to play in the bedroom and stuff, so I was like, eh. And the thing is that basically I looked up what this one is, and it's actually, Yakuza Kiwami is actually a remake of the original Yakuza game on the PS2. For the 10th anniversary, they remade the game for the PS4 and spruced up the graphics and tweaked some gameplay and whatever, and I was like, okay, if this is the very first one, then that's good. I can jump in. I'm not jumping in the middle of a series. I don't need to know who anyone is. It's the first game. It will just, it should be fine. And it's almost not. Because the game, it's very complicated. There are like 150,000 characters. Every 5 minutes, they're like freeze framing the screen and throwing up a caption of like which crime lord this is, and I'm just like, dude, I cannot keep track of all of you people. It's too much. And the politics and the infighting and the Yakuza gangs, it's a lot to keep track of. I don't know what's going on. And it also doesn't help that you do kind of jump in the middle, because you're not like a new up-and-coming Yakuza member who like learns about the world as they explore it and interact with people. You're like a high-ranking Yakuza guy who, I'm not spoiling the game because the game's like, 15 years old at this point, I think. He gets involved in a bad situation and ends up in prison, and that's like the beginning of the game. And then when he gets out of prison is sort of when the game starts. But it was weird because it just felt like I was in a never-ending tutorial mode where everything was being set up. Eventually I got to the point where there's a funeral scene, and you end up having to fight your way out through all these different groups of enemies in different areas. As you move through the areas, there's just enemies everywhere, and you have to fight everybody in sight. And then it ends with like a huge boss fight against this really tough boss that I was clearly not ready for because the game had not set me up correctly with teaching me how to properly fight. So I struggled and used practically all of my health items in order to stay alive long enough to whittle down his health and knock him out and get away. But that was where I felt like the game was, like the plot was finally getting underway because there was no more flashbacks and we were like, okay, here we are, this is what's happening. And then there was a moment where a character flashed me an evil grin of like, haha, I got you, all these guys are gonna kill you, haha. And that was the first time where I had like an emotional reaction where I was like, so you betrayed me and you're an evil villain and I'm going to take you down. And I felt like I wanted to take him down. So I was like, okay, now I'm getting a little more personally invested in the story, but it's really hard because the Yakuza game isn't... And I think it's the series, because it's not just this game, I think it's the series, because I felt the same way about the third one, where it's hard to get in, for me, it's hard to get into them because it's basically like, long cutscene, go to this new location, fight a couple of guys on the way or when you get there, and then there's another long cutscene. And it's a series of cutscenes interrupted by walking around and fighting some guys. And that's like basically it. And to me, that's not really drawing me into the story because I'm just watching it happen. It's not really working. And it also just took a really long time to get going as a story. But like, you have this whole city that you explore, and in the beginning, sections were blocked off because they only wanted you to go to certain places because they were still like walking you through the game. Now it's open, there's no more blocked areas, and you can just like go wherever you like, but I don't really know where I want to go because it's not, like, it doesn't, like, I don't want to explore it really. It's like, I don't know what the point is of exploring it, like, why should I explore? Because if you walk around, you just get into fights all the time, and that's kind of getting frustrating and annoying, and it's repetitive. So it's like, I kind of don't want to explore, because there's people everywhere looking for a fight, and, like, it's like, they're like, go here and do this. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go here and do that. So it doesn't, it's not like other games where you have a world to explore and you want to explore it and you have fun exploring it and it just looks great and you're just like, oh, I'm going to go do this and that and the other thing. Here I'm just sort of, I feel like I'm being led around. It's very linear. And it's also not like other game. Like, I was super, super into Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, I couldn't stop playing it. Like, I would sit down, I would start playing it, and I would not want to stop playing it. I would play it right up until I had to stop so I could go make dinner or something, you know, or I had to go to bed or whatever. So, like, I would play it for hours straight, and I was, like, super into it, and I wanted to see what happened next in the story, and I wanted to go around and collect all the different things and do all the different side quests and just do everything because it was so much fun to play, and I was just enjoying it. And here, there's not, like, fun gameplay because you're just walking around fighting dudes every so often. You're just watching cutscenes. And so here, in Yakuza, I don't feel like my actions are changing or driving the story. I feel like I'm just sort of watching it unfold, and it's the story is carrying me along, and I'm not actually making the story happen, if that makes sense. It feels very passive, which a video game shouldn't be. So I don't know how long I'm going to last with Yakuza, because it doesn't seem to be grabbing me, really. I did appreciate that when I played it yesterday, I got to the part where you rescue the little girl, and then she gets attached to this little stray puppy, and you have to go get it dog food and water, and it's very cute. And I was like, okay, well, that's cute. Now I care about the puppy. So and the little girl, like, that's something, I guess. But I still just feel like I'm watching a game instead of actually playing it. So maybe it would be better to just go see if somebody on YouTube strung together all the cutscenes and I could just see how the story played out without having to actually fight all the guys in between. So we'll see how long I actually last with Yakuza, because I've got plenty of other games in my game library. I mean, I just added this month, Just Cause 4 is free with PlayStation Plus, so I went to add that to my library and discovered that I have Just Cause 3 that apparently was free with PlayStation Plus at some point, and I added that, and I never played it. It's just sitting there. Tons of games that I could try. So I don't know if I'm going to keep playing Yakuza, or if at some point I'm just going to get bored, and I'm just going to be like, you know what, never mind, and I'll delete it, and I'll try something else. There's plenty in there to try. Who knows what diamond in the rough I may find. So come back next episode and see if I'm still playing Yakuza or if I'm doing something else. Who knows? Bye!